Thank you so much. Program directors, I want to acknowledge Dr. Don Matera, Ms. Dorothy Ann Howardson, Ms. Mike Huybrechts, Maria Mabetua, Conning Kumalo, and then Mr. Lorenzo Davids. Please pardon me for not adding the titles and the organizations. I'm assisting in time management, and I want us to get done as soon as possible. It is also a pleasure and an honor to acknowledge representatives from various stakeholders, youth formations, presenters and mentors, officials from government, national, provincial, regional, our partners in youth development, including our international guests. Ladies and gentlemen, the discussions here today are about our collective consciousness and how we can enrich the soul of this country. Now, this morning, for starters, the very first speaker started to reflect on South Africa. And the reason for inviting politicians to such events is to give a message to the politicians and also a piece of your mind to the politicians. Thus, the good practice that we always have administrators, stakeholders, community, as well as government. So I would like to acknowledge and appreciate on behalf of the politicians in this country and in this province your views and the points that you have made, the comments that you have served. The problems that you mentioned with reference to the children in this country, and I'm talking here about child abuse and everything it entails, sent a serious alarm to government. I say to government because it is the responsibility of government to provide the solution, put it in place, enforce it through various legislation programs, monitor and evaluate as well whether the solution we propose and put in place is implemented, rightfully so, and whether it is working for us. Government will come up with responsibilities towards itself regarding the issues, guided by the acts as mentioned by our DDG, but government will also have to support and strengthen the responsibility of its citizens. Families, the responsibilities of our families, the responsibility of communities, and the nation ultimately. I observed how proud you were to say as a department and as a government that we are good in terms of our child care programs. And I was saying to my comrade, you know, with the limited funding we have, we are really doing very, very good. And thus the message to the parents out there, those that are alive and kicking, that they must take up their responsibility as a mother and father and look after their children. We need to say that because that will, if we don't take up our responsibility as adults, as parents, it will impact negatively on the good that you are doing because there's limited funding. Unfortunately, this country must say, this is what we have in the purse, there's no more than this. How is the community going to assist the government for us to take care of our children? I also want to respond as a politician to what one of the speakers was saying. There was a cry out for our adults to lead by example in whatever we do. I look at children and I say to myself, they are only following our example. If we become crazy about a beautiful, expensive car, they will also. If we just smoke everywhere, anything, they will do. How on earth do you get a child who's doing drugs 8, 9 years old? Can we remember the day when we were 8 or 9 years old? We didn't even, I can't remember what I did or why I did it. I was following the example of the elders. And that's why I agree. Even the way we behave in public, I agree that adults must lead by example. And that message we will take forward as politicians of this country. Then, our response to the rape of a child and the rape of women or whoever. There's one kind of medicine for that. You know what we can do to fight that? Grow respect for one another. If the one can respect the next one, you will never enforce yourself upon the other one. So if we can foster that and confirm that and accept that and practice that, I believe we can come a long way. Our matric pass rate. Do you want to hear what I have to say about it? I was for 20 years in education, a teacher for 15 years. Out of the 20 years, I was a regional director. Namakwa region had the best results as a district in the country. That is where I am from. But I know why we were so good. Do you know why we were so good? Because we were privileged. Our kids are taught in their mother tongue and they write exam in their mother tongue. That's why they were so good. And once in South Africa, we don't get to that, we will forever have a problem with our matric pass rate, with the children leaving school and everything that goes with that. We have a problem as South Africa. Ons kan hierdie kant toe praat, ons kan daai kant toe praat. Die problem is mother tongue education and writing exams in mother tongue. Very expensive to achieve that. Maybe that's the reason why we don't get to that. But then I say, fine, how do we go about our funds available? Maybe we can build lesser houses, only for those that are in real need. Take the other billions and put it where it's supposed to be put. Health, education, and those in need. That's the key responsibilities of government. Not to build houses for every Tom, Dick, and Harry, who just, they get children, they cannot afford them, but the children allow me to qualify for a house, so I get the children. International guest is how we talk to our nation, straightforward. no secrets. The message is clear. Take responsibility as citizens of this country. A last one, I want to respond to my dear father. You know, I was the MEC for Sport, Arts and Culture for 5 years, and I worked closely with Uncle Don. As he is your father, he is mine. And we take seriously what he has said. And whatever government do, whatever difficulties we have, one of our main objectives is to have peace and stability in this country. And we will have peace and stability in this country. Don't you worry about that. I'm from Transport, Safety and Liaison. That means that the police in this province is under my watch. This is how we do it. So the decisions that we take, how we deal with issues, in the end, we want peace and stability in this country. And our nation will get the message that whatever else is not on our agenda, not on the agenda of South Africa, nothing else. Peace and stability, whatever problem we have, we will manage through our problems. I always say once people are alive, dogs will bark at a moving vehicle. If there's no noise, nothing, we are dead as a nation. So it's normal. We will be able to manage through all of that. Now, a few words from ourselves to this conference. We say, building a society that invests in children and takes care of them requires individuals and organizations to put the needs of children first. Our consciousness, ladies and gentlemen, about putting children first will allow us to let go of our professional insecurities, our needs and wants in the pursuit of workable strategies that will indeed enable us to take care of all our children. I trust that this will be the spirit that underpin the deliberations at this conference. We cannot proceed with a business as usual approach. And partnerships with stakeholders, business and civil society, is of great significance as we work towards improving the lives of the children entrusted to our care and protection. And we also want to acknowledge in the same breath the participation of UNICEF in this endeavor. It is also equally important that we keep developing the social work and care professions in order to keep up with the ever-changing environment and demands the profession poses to caregivers and social work professionals. We must be guided by an understanding that in order to improve our services, we cannot work as we have been over the last few years, and that participants will assist us by developing clear and concise proposals about the roles of social workers and child and youth care workers. We will have, as South Africa, acknowledge that we are confronted with many social ills which pose threats to the well-being of our children and expose them to potential neglect and abuse. Poverty and the compounding impact of HIV and AIDS are the biggest of these threats. Families have become dysfunctional, with children assuming the responsibility to take care of their siblings as a result of the HIV and AIDS pandemic. And this robs our children of a period in their lives where they should have fun and play and learn and grow. Ladies and gentlemen, the growing number of orphans places a huge burden of care on extended family networks and communities that traditionally support these children. Just listen to this. the growing number of orphans places a huge burden of care and extended family networks and communities that traditionally support these children. Why I'm saying this and why I pause here. In South Africa, most of the deaths on our roads in terms of accidents are those of the youth. That indicate to us that we are losing skilled people, energetic people, fathers and mothers to children. That is an indication, and what I have said earlier, that we as adults will have to take responsibility. We must take good care of ourselves because we, in turn, take good care of the children, or must take care of the children. The death of a parent impacts negatively on the protection, quality of care, psychosocial well-being, and access to basic services for any affected child. It further increases the child's vulnerability to exploitation and abuse. Furthermore, research indicates that in addition to psychological distress resulting from the death of one or both parents, orphan children are more vulnerable to poverty, illness, and abuse. They are at higher risk of HIV infection, malnutrition, stigma, and isolation. Orphan children and those living in child-headed households have increased, adding to the number of children who are profoundly impacted by social and economic underdevelopment. I am optimistic that this conference will create a platform for us not only to look at our own situation, but learn from international, national, and African programs and practices. We will have an opportunity to network and form new partnerships in strengthening services in our communities. Myself and the Premier and Executive Committee acknowledge with pride the fact that since 2011, the department has partnered with NACCW, who is the franchise owner of the Bindi program, which provides the NQF Level 4 training in child and youth care and the mentorship program. And I won't say anything further. I scratched out what else was said about that because you are masters on that. I heard you even have a song about it and you are very passionate about it. So, ladies and gentlemen, children do not constitute anyone's property. They are neither the property of their parents, nor of society, nor the state. They belong only to their own future freedom. The economic benefits of investing in children have been extensively documented. Investing fully in children will ensure the well-being and productivity of future generations for decades to come. By contrast, the physical, emotional, and intellectual impairment that poverty inflicts on children can mean a lifetime of suffering and want, and a legacy of poverty for the next generation. Our African tradition, ladies and gentlemen, teaches us an important and fundamental value that says, your child is my child, and my child is your child. Can we repeat that? Your child is my child, and my child is your child. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I believe I have put some limit on my speech, and let me reiterate government's commitment to support all organizations and initiatives aimed at addressing the plight of vulnerable children and protecting their rights. As a society, we must never allow space for children to be vulnerable, for their rights to be violated, and for them to be abused or exploited. I am also pleased to learn that this event will include a parallel youth conference where 132 children, all social service recipients, will deliberate and inform the adult event of their opinions and aspirations on improving the way we render our services to those in need. With this, we boldly declare that we hear and we agree with young people when they say, "Nothing about us without us." When the lives and the rights of children are at stake, there must be no silent witnesses. So let us build the global alliance to realize that goal, secure in the knowledge that in serving the best interests of children, we serve the best interests of all humanity. Government, in closing, finally, government will await the product of this conference. And we are sure it will definitely assist programs and plans of government in future. This is how we operate in South Africa. I thank you.